Are you struggling with pagination in Spring Data JPA? It can be frustrating when your code doesn't behave as expected. Today, we're going to tackle a common issue: how to handle null search parameters when fetching paginated data. I totally get it. You want to return an empty page when your search parameter is null, but instead, you're facing a null pointer exception. You're not alone in this. Many developers encounter similar challenges. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One user asked, "How can I initialize Spring Data JPA page to null when my search parameter is null?" They shared a code snippet where the pagination works fine, but the null search parameter causes an error. Sound familiar? Let's dive into this together. So what's happening here? When the search parameter is null, the code attempts to set the access page to null, which leads to a null pointer exception. This is a common pitfall in Java, and understanding it is the first step to solving the problem. And stick around. At the end of this video, I'll share a quick tip on how to handle null values gracefully in your code. To address the issue of returning a blank page when the search parameter is null, the user should modify the method to return an empty page instead of null. This can be done using the pageImpl class. Next, the user should ensure that the pageImpl class is imported. This class is part of the Spring Data package and is essential for creating an empty page. Now, the user can test the updated method. When the search parameter is null, it should return an empty page without causing a null pointer exception. Finally, the user should review the UI to ensure it handles the empty page correctly. This may involve checking how the UI displays an empty state. Fun fact: did you know that null references were first introduced in the 1960s? They've been causing headaches for developers ever since. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach suggested by another user is to handle the search parameter directly in the controller. They recommend checking if the search parameter is null before proceeding. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. An alternative solution provided by another user suggests initializing the page object with an empty list. You can do this by using the pageImpl class, which allows you to create a blank page without causing a null pointer exception. Let's move forward and look at another answer. An alternative approach for handling null pages in Spring Data JPA is suggested for those using version 1.55x. Instead of returning a null page, you can check if the page object is null and respond accordingly from the controller. Here's the tip I promised: always check for null values before processing them. This simple practice can save you from many headaches down the road. And there you have it. By returning an empty page instead of null, you can avoid those pesky null pointer exceptions. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more coding tips and tricks. And remember, handling null values wisely can make your code much more robust.